Hey everybody, we are skipping all the way to 10.8. If you look through your notes, you're more than welcome to. The rest of 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, 10.6 deals with a lot more with square roots and some pretty intense things that we would like to kind of be in person to teach you. So Miss Burley and I talked about it, and 10.8 is where we landed. 10.8 usually is a very nice lesson for students. We're going to talk about trigonometric ratios. Excuse me, but they're not that intimidating. I think you guys are actually going to like them. So I'm going to teach you a phrase that is pretty common in math, and it's SOHCAHTOA. And it's spelled kind of funny. So is S-O-H, Ka, C-A-H, and Toa, T-O-A. And this first S stands for sine, this C stands for cosine, this T stands for tangent, and then the O in both cases is opposite, the H is hypotenuse, and the A's are adjacent. So let's go ahead and put those somewhere. In fact, let's put it right here. Let's do S means sine. Let's write that C means cosine, and I'm showing you the short abbreviated versions, maybe, and then you can see the long words down here. The T means tangent, and if you want, we may as well explore your calculator now. There's sine, there's cosine, there's tangent, and let's write that the O is opposite. Let's write that the A means adjacent. I'm abbreviating, adjacent. That means like right beside something. And let's write that the H means hypotenuse, which we have talked about already this chapter. All right, so let's start by talking about sine. So you are going to be given a right triangle. So we may as well draw at the top. Let's draw ourselves a right triangle. So your right triangle might look like that. And we've already talked about right triangles in 10.1. So they're pretty familiar to us. That could be a right triangle. As long as you have a right degree, you have a right triangle. Let's go to sine. So the abbreviation for sine is just S-I-N. And it looks like sin, but we say sine. I already wrote that up there for you. And this should say ratio, not ration. That's cute. All of these are ratios, and it's not, as long as you can remember SOHCAHTOA, the ratios shouldn't be too hard. Let's go over them. So for sine, you go to the first one because it starts with an S, sine S. That O and that H, those are your ratios. So it's O divided by H. And that comes from the SO of SOHCAHTOA. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So if you want to, if that's hard, you could just write it like that too. It's opposite over hypotenuse. And you look at a right triangle, find an angle, but we're going to practice that a little bit. Cosine. And maybe we'll even practice using our calculator just a little bit. So cosine, we use C-O-S. It looks like cos, but it's not. It's cosine, and it's right here on your calculator. Even if you turn your iPhone like sideways, you'll see cosine on there. In SOHCAHTOA, it's the middle part. It's the ka. So A means that the ratio starts with the adjacent on the top. H means that the hypotenuse goes on the bottom. And if you want to give yourself like a little more of a hint, you can write adjacent over hypotenuse with a couple more letters filled in. And tangent. Tangent is just T-A-N. It looks like tan. And it's right here on your calculator. And of SOHCAHTOA, it's the TOA part. And the O and the A are the ratio. So it's O first, then A. Sometimes kids are like, oh, can I switch those? You can't. Like, sine has to be opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine has to be adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent has to be opposite over adjacent. So if you don't like just the single letters, you can fill those in if you want to. Now, something I think we should probably talk about, because we're dividing this lesson into two different parts for you, is I'm going to teach you how to just use your calculator real fast on how to get decimals out of these. So if you want to just kind of like break this side up here before we move on to the next thing, I'm going to teach you how to use your calculator, and one of the steps is like super duper important. You have to make sure your calculator is in degrees. So we're just going to practice finding sine of 30 degrees. Then we'll practice using your calculator to find sine of 80 degrees. And then we'll use your calculator to find cosine of 40 degrees. And we'll use your calculator to find cosine of 80 degrees. And I'm going to prove to you that sine of 80 and cosine of 80 are different. And then we're going to do tan. We can pick any number we want. Let's do of 25 degrees and tangent of, it doesn't really matter. Let's do 72 degrees. Okay? And this is just so you know how to push the buttons on your calculator and get like 4 decimals. Okay? So we'll talk a little bit about rounding and where to find your buttons. So let's do sine of 30. So I'm going to hit sine. Notice parentheses naturally come up. So I type in 30. You can close your parentheses, it's not necessary, but you get 0.5. Sine of 30 is a special one. It doesn't repeat, it's not irrational. Okay, so that would mean like the ratio of the opposite divided by the hypotenuse is 0.5. But we'll talk about more of that later. Let's do sine of 80. So sine 80. And let's do 4 decimals. So that's 9848. Or should it be 9849? Well, that 0 tells me to leave that 8 in alone. So it's 0.9848. Now, if you guys are using your calculator and you're like, oh my goodness, I am not getting those numbers, chances are your calculator is not in degrees. So you need to, excuse me, you need to hit mode. And can you see how there's radians here where I'm pointing and then degree? You want to make sure degree is highlighted. If your radian is highlighted like that, you need to go over to degree, hit enter, and now you're good. You can hit clear and you're going to be back. You should be able to test sine of 30 and sine of 80 and get what I got. Let's try cosine of 40. Not too terrible, 0.7660. 0.766, because after that 0 was a 4, which told me to leave my 0 alone. Let's do cosine of 80. So we're going to do boom, 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 boom. So 1736, or should that 6 become a 7? Let's look at the 4. The 4 tells us leave that 6 alone. 5 or higher says go up. So 0.1736. All right, and these numbers that I'm getting on the side, those are the ratios you would get of the triangle. But we'll talk more about that in the next little part. Let's do tan of 25, 0.4663. And now let's do tan of 72. I guess I could say tangent if I wanted to. Ooh, look at tangent of 72 degrees. 3.077. That 6 is going to be a new 7 because that 8 says go up. I'm doing 4 decimals. So 3.077. 7. All right. So there you go. Those are how you use your calculator to find the decimals. So let's go ahead and see if we can find the ratios now. Not just the decimals, but the ratios. So I want you to look at this triangle right here. They want the ratio based on SOHCAHTOA. So I know sine, I'm just going to write sine is opposite over hypotenuse because it says sine. So I'm going to put my pencil on letter B and try to keep it out of your way. What is opposite of this? Oh, and that's angle B. So see how that's angle B? What is opposite of B? Well, what is the thing not touching B? What is the complete opposite side? Well, 17 is part of B. 15 is part of B. So complete opposite of that is, what does that say over there? It looks so messy. Is that an 8 or is that a 3? That's an 8. Like I made a mess. So this is opposite. So I can say it's going to equal 8 divided by, what's the hypotenuse? Is 15 the hypotenuse or is 17? Well, this slanted side, opposite the 90 degree, that's my hypotenuse. So my ratio is 8 over 17. So what I'm going to do is try to reduce that. 8 divided by 17, math, enter, enter. That does not reduce. So let's hold on. All right, let's do tangent of A. So SOHCAHTOA, I would use TOA like that, SOHCAHTOA. So that means I need to find the opposite and the adjacent. This says put your pencil on the A dot, or on the A angle. Here it is. What is completely opposite of my pencil? 15 is opposite. Put your pencil back on A. What is adjacent? So adjacent is the flat side that touches my angle. So what do you guys think? Do you think the flat side is 8 or do you think the flat side is 17? 8. So I'm going to see if that reduces. So I'm going to do 15 over 8. Math, enter, enter. That does not reduce. So my ratio is 15 over 8. And again, I found opposite of A, boink, and adjacent, the flat side touching it. Let's try cosine of F. So cosine is SOHCAHTOA, so we're going to do A over H like that. And I'm going to put my pencil on what point? They want me to put it on F, so here it is. What is adjacent to my pencil? In other words, what's the flat side or the straight side or the leg that is touching my pencil? Well, the answer is either 9 or 15. Which one of those is not the hypotenuse? 9. Now, so this was I just did the adjacent. Now I need to do the hypotenuse. Look at your triangle. What of those is the hypotenuse? Hopefully you're able to identify the hypotenuse. It's the easiest one to identify. The adjacent, I think, is the hardest one to identify. Let's see if that reduces. So we got 3/5. Ta-da! So we reduce if we can. Let's go to tangent of E. So SOHCAHTOA. For tangent, I must use TOA. I'm going to put my pencil on this angle E. There I am. They want opposite of E and adjacent to E. So they want opposite and they want adjacent to my pencil. Well, opposite of my pencil is the furthest away, the one not touching it, which is 9. Now put your pencil back on E. What is the adjacent? In other words, what's the straight side that's touching E? 12 is hopefully what you come up with because 15 is the hypotenuse. You always have to pick two out of the 3 sides. Reduce them, aha, so 3/4. Let's do cosine of B. So that's SOHCAHTOA. I bet that one sounded kind of funny. Ka. SOHCAHTOA. So I'm going to do adjacent and hypotenuse. So I need adjacent. Put my pencil on B. Here's my pencil on B. What is adjacent to B? Remember, adjacent is not the hypotenuse, and it is not opposite. It's the flat side touching my pencil. So 15. Put your pencil back on B. What's the hypotenuse? 17. Go to math, enter that. Does not reduce. So that's the ratio of the 2 sides compared to each other. Sine of E. So you're going to put your pencil on E. Oh, I got to do SOHCAHTOA. So it's since I'm in sine, I use at the top, pull it down just a little more. There it is. I got to use SOHCAHTOA. So S equals O over H. So of SOHCAHTOA. That's opposite and hypotenuse. Put your pencil on E. What is O? What is opposite of E? Is it 9, 15, or 12? Well, it's the one that's not touching, completely opposite of that angle, 9. What is the hypotenuse on this triangle? I'm guessing most of you know the hypotenuse is the slanted side, 15. And I've already reduced that fraction, I think, up here in this problem. That's 3/5. And you can reduce on your calculator. Something important to note is that if you're dealing with the same triangle, cosine of one angle is the sine of another angle. So cosine and sine are kind of like, I don't want to say opposite of each other, but like that's the same answer for a different angle. Notice, please, that I am not doing sine, cosine, or tangent of the 90-degree angle ever, because that won't really help us. All right, let's do sine of F. So I'm going to do so of SOHCAHTOA, like that, because its sine is opposite over hypotenuse. I'm going to put my pencil on F. What is opposite of F? 12. What is the hypotenuse on this triangle? 15. So we're going to do 12 over 15. Math, enter, enter. 4/5. Now, if you don't have one of your calculators that reduces fractions for you, there's lots of ways you can do that. You can say like, oh, 3 goes into both of these. 3 goes into 12 4 times, 3 goes into 15 5 times, or I'm sure, I promise you, if you literally go, hey Google, what is 12 over 15 reduced? My Google's actually
on the website cookinnerdytips.com.
I hope you can hear this.
So the fraction 12/15 can be simplified or reduced to become the fraction 4/5.
I don't know if you just...
a little more context?
No, Google, that's fine. Thank you. I don't know if you just heard my Google Home just went off.
And our example of
oh, hey Google, stop. My Google Home just went off and told me that it reduces to 4/5. So worst case scenario, you go online to Google and you type, hey, what's 12 over 15 reduced? And clearly Google will be happy to reduce that for you. All right, tan of B, so put your pencil, oh, tan is TOA. Like, ow, I stubbed my TOA. Okay, put your pencil on B. What is opposite of B? Way over here, 8. What is adjacent to B? That's the flat side, boink, 15. It's the flat side that touches B. And if you want to know if 8 over 15 reduces, just like Google just told me, we could do it on Google, do it on your calculator, it doesn't reduce. So 8 over 15, so if that's like the ratio that it reduces to. All right, so cosine of A. Here we go. So if we have A, let's see. Pencil in A. Oh, cosine. I keep forgetting this part. Of SOHCAHTOA, that's the ka part. SOHCAHTOA. So put your pencil on A over here. This A stands for the angle, not adjacent. That A is the angle. What is adjacent to A? Well, can't be 17. 17 is the hypotenuse. It can't be 15 because 15 is opposite, so it must be 8. Over the hypotenuse of 17. We could ask Google if that reduces. I promise you it does not. So the main goal of the lesson right now is that you understand sine is opposite and hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent and hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite and adjacent. And that you can find the opposite, the adjacent, and the hypotenuse, given a certain place to put your pencil. The two other things today's lesson was about is getting your calculator to give you like these numbers here. So as long as that was good, that was a big part of the lesson. So this was a big part of the lesson. This was a big part of the lesson. So part 1, part 2. And then part 3, the lesson today, is being able to find the ratios. Hopefully the video was good for you. If you have questions, don't forget Miss Burley and I, we have those tutoring sessions available for you all the time. We are constantly checking our email, and we love to hear from you guys. We miss you, and we just hope that, that the lesson went well. Good luck on your homework. You are only going to be doing the first part of the 10.8 homework, so hopefully that will go very well for you. Don't forget to reduce, and if you don't know how to reduce, ask Google. Bye, guys.